Hello, everybody. I am so excited to welcome you all to this month's Owl Connection call for the month of May. And these calls are really just here for us to gather together from the heart space and be able to support each other in a positive way and learn how to do these circles of conversations for ourselves and each other as we just hold the space and set the example as one way that you guys could have your own conversations at home. So I am super excited to welcome our fearless leader, Grandmother Judith, who lives in Canada, and I'm going to let her take it away. It's so amazing to be here.
Well, Chigmig Witch, and thank you, Kim and Joseph Joey, who's with us as well today. I am honored to be working with these two beautiful young souls who are great teachers for the grandmother who's still working on lots of learning because you're never too old to learn a new trick, they say. So I'm Grandmother Judith, and I'm blessed to live in the sacred Algonquin Anishinaabe lands of the territory in the heart of Canadian democracy in actual Gatineau, Quebec, La Belle Province, as they like to say. And as a traveler of the world, I've been blessed to live in 6 cultures. And because of that experience, I've been through a tremendous amount of learning in my lifetime. And I'm still continuing that journey forward of learning what Judith needs to know about Judith. And that is when you get to be an old Model T with a few miles on your body, you better listen very clearly to spirit, to your emotional body, to your mental wellness, and to your physical body, because it'll let you know when you're on overload. And we are living in times of great opportunity to learn and to change. So I want to honor everyone listening to the call. I particularly want to acknowledge and honor Joey that's with us today, who does a tremendous amount of work with people working through stress, and particularly Kim, who does a wonderful amount of work as a holistic teacher and healer and helping us all to do that journey forward to be always more of honoring our true spiritual potential. So thank you all for listening today. And when you have an opportunity to see these conversations on the OWL website, please just go to www.wellnesslearning.com, where you'll see conversations of people from all over the planet sharing their journey forward in these times of great challenge is great opportunity for growth. So welcome everyone. And Joey, I think we're going to be hearing from you next and hear your beautiful voice balancing Kim and I today.
Hey, lovely to be here with you both. It's something I look forward to each month, and very excited to have these conversations. Never know where we're going to go with it, but it's always a beautiful thing and I always feel good afterwards. So absolutely love that. So I'm Joey. If you haven't seen previous calls, I'm an emotional healing practitioner. So I help people to become best friends with their bodies. That format works through recognizing our own emotional triggers and then tapping into our body's natural ability to be able to self-heal any type of emotional difficulty. And these kind of conversations remind me, I don't know if either of you have heard of the book Kitchen Table Wisdom, but it's a book about the importance of stories, and that as a human species, that's really where we transferred wisdom and was able to teach younger generations how to progress, maybe more quickly than the previous generations did by transferring that wisdom. And a lot of that format happened through conversations, talking about personal stories, and sharing that wisdom through these stories. And a lot of that happened around, a campfire, around the kitchen table, in community, talking about, sometimes deep, dark, dense things that maybe we wouldn't speak about in other social environments, but the smaller family units thrive by doing this. And now in the technology age, I think it's easy to lose sight of that, and maybe be distracted by other things out in the web, and maybe lose sense of our humanity in that way. So I love that we're kind of integrating those two. We're using this technology format as we're all in different places in the world, and at the same time coming together to have deep conversations on whatever happens to come up, so that we can share wisdom and then have this recorded for other people to be able to see at a later time. So absolutely love doing this with y'all. Thanks for having me.
So that's so beautiful what you both just articulated, because sitting around the campfire is a tremendous part of the journey of the ancient elders on the indigenous ways of being in community. And the book is a very powerful book to mention, Joey, because a lot of those books that we have are our own life story, that we haven't written a story yet. And in this modern age of technology, if we get too wrapped up in technology, we lose personal relationship. And so as the 78-year-old elder, I have had lots of stories told to me in my life, because I come from a generation of sitting at the kitchen table, not just for one meal a day, if we're lucky, but 3 meals a day. And so in the early 50s, we didn't compete so much with TV. It was just coming through at that era. And believe it or not, when we look at evolution, sometimes I feel we're going backwards because we're forgetting to have relationship with each other. And when you get wrapped up too much in one thing or the other, we lose our capacity to have balance. And another word for balance is wholeness. So the voice and the connection of human beings around a campfire or sitting at a kitchen table when your child comes home from school and you're completely present to say, how did your day go? And the child can say, I had a bad day. And some parent can actually hear the crack in their voice and say, well, tell me about it. And once they finish telling the story of their bad day, they can see their bad day wasn't as bad as they thought it was after all, because somebody actually listened. So I think the most powerful tool we can reclaim in these times of COVID-19 and the time of the great shift that's been prophesized is that great capacity to learn to listen to each other. But more importantly, when somebody listens, we can actually learn to talk as well. And that's powerful to begin to share from our hearts. So Kim, we'd like to add on that, because both you and Joey are doing tremendous work as young people who already have the wisdom and knowledge. It's taken 78 years of my life experience to articulate and continue to learn, by the way. Tell us more, Kim, about one of the work you're doing in your recent month of experiences and what were your learnings and wisdom.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect topic, or at least from my perspective. And those of you who don't know, I didn't think to introduce myself when I started. So I'm Kim Lyde. I am a holistic healing coach and music therapist. And it's been a very interesting past month for me personally. My family, a couple weeks ago, before we jumped on this call and hit the record button, I was sharing with Judith and Joey that my daughter and I tested positive for COVID. And I actually felt a sense of shame and didn't really want to tell anybody, because here I'm a holistic healing coach, and I follow a belief system with Christian Science, which is too big to get into right now. But there's methods of healing where you can kind of eliminate anything that you might come across. And so I felt a really deep sense of shame. Like, how could I let myself get sick like this? What is the purpose of this? And not really understanding what was going on. And we were really, the symptoms weren't that bad, just in case anyone's was worried. Like, we were fine. We were just spending a lot of time together. But I really think what the lesson was for me and my experience was what Judith was just talking about, which was taking that time to spend together as a family, because that's what we were blessed with through that experience. And at the beginning, I was all stressed out thinking, oh my gosh, I have to reschedule all my sessions because I have to stay home with my daughter, and how am I going to work it out? And so in the beginning, my mindset, I wasn't present with my child. My mindset was, I have work to do. Let me go. And about halfway through the first week or so, I finally was like, okay, I've been given this opportunity for a reason. Let me be present with my child. Let's have, at every Friday, we have Mama Bella Day. because her name is Bella. So I said, well, let's have like a week of Mama Bella Day every day. And let's do something together. And we really, I think, had a deeper relationship as the week went on, because we got to come up with different ways to entertain each other, different ways to connect, because we weren't allowed to go anywhere, we had to stay inside. So it wasn't just movies all the time. It was board games, it was creative play, it was let's make an obstacle course in the hallway and with different items around the house and jump around. And so it was a really creative, kind of special time. And I realized, like, wow, maybe we manifested this so that we could have a vacation together, like, because that's the only way I was going to stay home and take time to be present with my child. So
Beautiful.
it how's that for connection, right?
And that's right on topic for changing gracefully.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's the theme, change gracefully. And I'm going to add to that gratefully, because
Mm.
cosmic 2x4s have amazing experiences. We are set up with an experience that becomes a gift, but we don't know it when we're going through it.
Right.
And so again, your journey this past month has been a little similar to my journey, but I'll share about it later. Let's hear from Joey right now. Joey, how have you been experiencing what Kim is talking about in your last month?
Nothing's coming up right directly, but like I appreciate your story, Kim, because it really like highlights that it's funny how like we as humans, when life throws a curveball, initially we have this kind of trigger of like how it's not what we want. And then it takes us a certain amount of time to kind of allow our body to kind of resolve that feeling, and then we come out of it and go, oh, there's actually some silver linings here. Like now I have this space to play. And so I really appreciate you sharing that story, because I think it highlights it for all of us to keep that in the back of our mind when life throws a curveball at us. That like, why try and fight it when we can just like we're trying to swim upstream and instead just flow with the river, and then enjoy the time that you're there flowing with the river instead of fighting it. And it's always easier said than done. But when it comes around, it is a very nice situation that can come. And then as months pass, we look back and like are actually can be potentially grateful for that shift and that change. Um, and I think that's kind of what COVID as a whole has given to me. This entire shift in our culture has allowed me to look at where I was spending my time and attention. I've been a higher education student for the majority of my life. And then when I chose to do medical school, it really just ramped that up even more, where I was constantly in student mode, constantly spending my money, my time and attention there, and having to work as much as I could in the off school time to try and make it through as a working student and, pay the bills and everything, as well as having high amounts of student loan. And then when COVID happened, I literally just finished my prerequisites for biochemistry, was about to apply for medical school and move states. And I took 6 months off to have a little break to recoup from the last 10 years of school before I transitioned into that. And then COVID happened during that last 6 months when I was on break. And at first it was very disruptive, right? I think all of us were in this haze of not uncertainty and not knowing what to do, and the entire social fabric was changed, everything, economy was changed. Um, and after a few months of a lot of freak out, I finally kind of came to myself again and realized that this could actually be a good thing, that maybe I don't need to go into another 6 to 7 year program, uproot my life that I've been here in Colorado for the last 10, 11 years and move to a new state. And then also, apply for what, $100,000 to $200,000 worth of student loans on top of what I already had. Um, and then it made me kind of look inward and go, well, you know what? I've been researching this stuff for the last 10 years. Like there's things here that I already know and that I already do that I haven't had the time available to start to work with clients and apply this wisdom that I had gained and benefited me so heavily, as well as the small amounts of people that I worked with around that time. And so that's what I'm doing now, and I'm actually much happier now. It's so nice to not like constantly have on my mind the tasks of school that I need to do, and then to work at every given waking moment to try and make ends meet. Where now I'm actually doing things I enjoy, and getting time to like take care of my house. Like all of these projects I've had on the side forever,
Mhm.
uh, I realized as I do them now, I enjoy doing them, and it's also giving me space to think about more and to create more. And it's like this almost like this psychological baggage and emotional baggage that's been back here because there's so many projects I wanted to complete that I never had time for, and now I'm getting to. As simple as like, doing some woodworking, like putting glue on broken objects, and like now they're fixed, and like now it's something that's not in my garage that's useful again. And doing that over and over again and cleaning my space has been just so absolutely beautiful. So that has been a silver lining byproduct of this entire shift in our culture that none of us wanted or expected. But I think it's given me an ability to get back to myself and start to see these things I didn't see before, and allow me to dream in a new way, even though there's a lot of restrictions around the ways in which we can move, or geographically. But it's allowed me to focus more internally on myself, and I think it's been a beautiful thing. And so I think that's helped me to change gracefully as well. At first, it was a bit of a disruption, but it's like, well, there's only so much I can shift in my environment. So how do I adapt to that and be happy in that and design it for myself by myself so that I can do this in a new way?
I love that, embracing the student within with no debt and hands-on life experience, using all your knowledge from the wonderful ways of university in a intellectual way, because now you've been gifted with a lot of knowledge, but now you're using it in real life time to help a lot of people, guide them through your own change as you're working in your own university of life. Now, I'm a student of the University of Life, and I come through as I often say to people, within us all is a genius that wishes to express and be creative and be fully all of who we are, to live our passions. So when you look at passion and you look at action and the becoming of who you really are, you begin to realize that we are all these beautiful souls on a planet going through a tremendous amount of inner and outer change right now. And in that journey of doing the inner work of knowing ourselves, we're freeing ourselves to be completely all of who we are. And from Indigenous perspectives, we are all unique souls born into the planet with unique talents and gifts. And once we begin to connect with those inner talents and gifts that come naturally, and they're the passion that we're here to be creative creators of the new that is emerging through the old that's breaking down. Somewhere in all of that journey is a unique story coming from each of us in this last month. Now, as an elder, I have a journey of 1 week of intensive challenges that I've never had before. As a widow of 8 months, learning to do a lot of things that my husband always did. It's been a very stressful journey for grandmothers and elders to work with technology, because now everything's in technology because of COVID. And so if you're living through a time where you're not completely comfortable with technology and you're having all these papers to fill out, it can add extra stress to your emotional, physical, spiritual bodies. And so the journey of the last week that I had was an intensive journey of experiencing a true wake-up call that in my time of life, I really must be vigilant to care for myself as an elder. That is my responsibility as a wise woman, learning to put self first. And so for a lot of young mothers of today that may be listening to this call, and young fathers and young adults like yourself, Joey, that are struggling to make a way in the world based on our traditional way, we have to back up and breathe and take a time out. And it's how we play the game of life that's most important. And if we strike out, that's great, because guess what happens? You get to sit on the bench and think about it. So sometimes the greatest gift we can give ourselves is to stop trying too hard and get ourselves out of the traditional ball game and create a new game of life, and look at life as a life of creativity and joy, to begin to see I've done a lot of work and I love who I am. And it's time to really put me first. What can I do that makes me have joy? And Kim, your story with your daughter is a real great one for young mothers and young fathers to hear. So let's keep building on that, because this living gracefully is the theme for this month of what we're talking about. And I believe we should be using the word gratefully and gratitude, because despite all the pain, we have compassion. And despite all the challenges, we have opportunity for teaching and learning from each other in these very sacred conversations of the heart. So let's give it back to you, Kim, and keep this story flowing.
Yeah, I love the whole idea of being graceful and grateful. Um, for me, the word that comes up when I hear that is also being humble and being open to being vulnerable. Like being open to like just being who you are. Like in my story, I shared that I felt shame in the beginning. Oh no, I can't tell anyone because I'm a healer. I'm supposed to know what I'm doing, right? Like I'm not supposed to get sick. But as you said, the story is now able to help other people because I was able to take a breath and say, you know what? I'm going to get vulnerable. I'm going to get open and allow people to hear this because I know it can help people. And I learned something from it. So I think graceful, when you're living gracefully, you are living with gratitude. You are living in a way that you can see the silver lining in each moment, in all the challenges and all the hard weeks and all the moments that we have. And through those moments, like Joey, what you were saying, like it's okay to go with the flow. It like we don't have to feel those feelings of shame. There's nothing, they're normal. There's nothing wrong with them, but we can release them because it's okay to go with the flow and understand that the we get to learn from this. There's something new. There's always a new opportunity. Each moment we have a new choice to make, whether we don't think about it, but we have a new choice to make every single moment of every single day. You know, do I want to get up and do something productive? Do I want to take a nap? Do I want to take a deep breath? Do I want to meditate? And Judith, just to kind of piggyback a little more on what you were saying about self-care, I think the other piece of the lesson for me was you gotta make the time for that, and you have to really be committed. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'll have self-care when, when my work is done. When I'm not busy, I'll have self-care. When I have time, because you won't have time. The truth is you really won't have time. You have to actually, schedule it in your day. Maybe it could be an appointment. Maybe, it could be the first 15 minutes when you wake up, or set an alarm or a timer or whatever. But making that commitment to yourself raises your integrity, raises your compassion for the people around you, because you know what it feels like to set that container for yourself, that structure. So just I feel like there's so many pieces here. There's so many pieces about really caring for ourselves and living in this graceful way. Yeah, it's really great.
Great intense times. And we can use these self-care words, but it's hard for us to know what makes us feel better. And I think a lot of it is getting conscious. For a lot of people, get out into nature and read or garden or do something that just gives life to you. Joey kind of touched upon it. And it's a lot of what I'm doing now too, is cleaning your house can be life-giving, getting rid of old stuff, breathing, being like a Buddhist, doing things slowly, intentionally, so that you enjoy washing the dishes, not just shoving them into a dishwasher and then have the noise turn on and take away your quietude. Washing dishes with your daughter, doing things with the kids, because it empowers the kids to begin to understand that, hey, someday they're going to have a nice house and they want to give it lots of love and care too. So again, building on all these tools that we have that we somehow have forgotten. And COVID could be an opportunity in these times to begin to realize that we've stopped breathing. And so my intense week of stress took me back to see I've still got lots of work to do around what are my triggers that create me to be the opposite of what I would like to be. Because we also have those moments that are truly wake up calls that I'm over the top with stress. And Joey, you can talk to that. You and I were having a conversation earlier. It's such a powerful tool to be stay connected with our bodies and begin to feel again what is triggering us at any given moment. And I think you and Kim are both bringing to the audience today is the opportunity for them to connect with you both after this program to see what are some of the ways you're helping people to begin to not just hear what we're talking about today, but to experience in their own lives. What does it really mean to begin to remember to breathe and to go around the block and have a walk instead of getting intensely overwhelmed and then overreactive? So let's build in that conversation, Joy, if you can.
Yeah, I believe we have a beautiful technology, which is our body, and that it is able to self-heal emotionally in the same way that when our skin is cut, we don't tell it how to heal. It just naturally kind of does it when we give it the proper environment. Might have to clean it up, put a bandage on it, forget about it for a day or two. Actually, yesterday I just cut myself on a Dremel as I was doing stuff, and I know that I cleaned it up and maybe put something on it now that it's been a day later, and in a couple days it's going to heal on its own. And luckily our emotional system actually self-regulates and self-heals much more quickly than that. I think part of the prerequisite to tapping into that ability is by becoming more aware of how our body is actually communicating to us. And I think that's part of the changing gracefully and gratefully piece is being able to find those times when your body is communicating to you that it is stressed, that it needs some time off, or that it needs to connect, like Kim was saying, into some of the practices that you know that help you to come back to yourself. Whether it's yoga, meditation, walking in nature, our body gives us these signals. One analogy I like to use that I think kind of shows this is it's almost like the dashboard of your car, your automobile. Many people drive, most people drive. And often, most times, people don't know what the dashboard lights even mean. My early education was in automotive technology, so I know how vehicles work. And not everybody needs to know how vehicles work, but as an operator of the vehicle, I think it's really important to know what the dashboard lights even mean. And we're not required to read the owner's manual if we have a vehicle, and lights can come on and we may not know what they are. And so the analogy for that is I feel it's the same way with our body is we were not really given an owner's manual. These signals, these lights come on of these different physical symptoms and sensations that we call emotions or physical disease. They come on our dashboard, but we don't have a manual and we don't even know what they mean. And so there's this ancient language and wisdom within us of feelings, of physical sensations throughout our body that occur when we're in difficult situations. And so I think the closer we can become, do practices that allow us to be embodied, that connect us with nature, with other people, and have this self-respect and self-responsibility for our own body. That's why I say becoming best friends with our body, that it has this communication with us, but oftentimes we've been culturally trained to shut it off or to distract ourselves or to try to control it in some way instead of surrendering to it, going with the flow of the river and trying to make sense of what these feelings are. And really what's more important is allowing ourselves to feel it. Because if we want to heal these difficult feelings, the way is to actually feel it. And that is the sensation of going with the river instead of trying to fight it. And so as that naturally happens, I think that's what allows us to come into these places of making these habit changes. In the same way Kim was saying about scheduling it, I think that's super important. Another piece that I like to couple with that is also knowing that we as humans like things that are easy. And if it's complex and it's difficult to do, or it takes a lot of steps to get to, oftentimes we're not going to do it. And so, what are things that, if you're wanting to make a habit change, what would make it the easiest to make that happen for you? This little thing that's up here on the top corner of my screen is a hangboard. And so it has little pocket holes to be able to put your fingers in, and you can do pull-ups, you can do the ab exercises. There's all these different ways that you can exercise on it, and it's on my doorway. So if I get bored here while I'm working, I can see that and I can easily just hop on it. If I'm walking through the doorway to go to the bathroom, either direction, I can hop on it and do a few things. And then it pushes me to actually do some push-ups or some sit-ups. And so I wanted to get exercise into my life. And that was one way for me to be able to make it as easy as possible, because I can visually see it and it's in a walkway that I commonly move through. And so I don't have to think about it or do something specifically to want to do it. It just now kind of becomes naturally integrated into my daily life. When I think about it, I can hop onto it. And so I think that's one thing that's an example that's kind of helped me to shift that. If I have this feeling inside of me like, oh, I want to do a couple pull-ups. Oh, it's right there. All I got to do is hop up on it. In my living room, I added a carpet onto the living room because it was a wood floor. And now while that's there, it's much more easier for me to do a few stretches, do a little bit of yoga real quickly at any time throughout my day. Versus before, I had to take a yoga mat and actually put it out on the floor. I have dogs, so then it would get hairy, and then I have to put it back up and put it away. And so there was all this extra effort that now that carpet gives me the ability to just do it. And so I'm definitely very grateful for seeing that in myself, that doing these small little shifts allowed me to just have it as part of my life instead of having to force myself into it. Or like what you said, Kim, like I've felt shame and guilt for knowing these things but not applying them. And it's crazy how we do this to ourselves as humans. Like we add on all this extra layers of information or emotions that don't really help us to get where we're wanting to go. And so I think it's nice to be able to discuss this, because I think everybody has these types of habits within us. And the way I'll close this, the most important, I think, is seeing what your own habits are. Like, what do you want to do? What's kind of in the way of that? And how do you allow yourself to make it the easiest to be able to make these changes? And then if you do fall, like this is part of our evolution as humans. As babies, we learn to walk, we constantly fall, but we don't give up because we see that other people have already learned how to walk. And so as we fall, that failure is one step closer to success. And I think as adults, we kind of forget that. And so as we fail, it's actually a wonderful opportunity to learn, and we're never going to fall the same way again. And so I think that same thing happens with these changes we want to make. Failure is actually one step closer to success. So keep on moving forward.
How true. It's like the story of Babe Ruth. They talk about how many home runs he hit, but they don't talk about how many times he struck out before he hit all the home runs. And so a lot of us are conditioned as little children with the key word no, because little boys are really adventurous little boys. And some little girls are very adventurous little girls. So mothers are doing the best we can with protecting our children from themselves. But one of the key words we hear as a little child is no. You can't do that. No. Or don't cry. Little boys shouldn't cry. They should be strong. So we're given this message at a very early age that, again, we carry into a lifetime sometimes, where we struggle with we're not good enough, self-doubt, or we should do it this way, we should do some other way. And we don't trust ourselves. That's intuitively, we know that whatever we do, if it makes us feel good, it's good for us. So as you say, Joey, creating teeny little patterns in your own home and environment, particularly you young people that are on computers so much. One of my big concerns as an elder, witnessing the imbalance of too much technology and not enough walking in nature or getting out, walking around the block and coming back, and even being more productive because you've had a time out. So doing something that makes you feel really good, where you don't have to schedule yoga once a day, but you figure new ways to be, as I say, a Tibetan monk that works through the day doing everything in love. You're already living a pattern of a yoga. And yoga can be done all day long, where you're intentionally remembering, am I breathing right now in this moment, or has something just triggered me to forget how to breathe? Because many times we're not even breathing, we don't know it. So can we just build upon the breath work that's so important, to breathe deeply and to stick our heads out a window and get fresh air on a daily basis, because COVID is forcing us, and I think COVID is a lot about breath. We as a society put so much stress on young people to succeed by our norms. But how about helping our young people to live vibrant, alive lives because they're feeling good about who they are, and they're having conversations with each other in new ways on technology? But can they bring the technology to meet in small groups and also have conversations where they're expressing and exchanging energy as human beings one to one, and bring a little bit of balance in that conversation? What do you guys think about that, for particularly younger ones that might not be listening to this call, but have aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers and parents that are concerned that we're out of balance a little bit with too much technology in these times? Can we just maybe finish this conversation as we're heading to next month? Because we're talking about behold beauty everywhere. Well, how about helping all citizens of planet Earth, all ages of planet Earth, begin to hold the beauty everywhere that's in each other's hearts by going outside and having conversations now? So let's build on that as we come to a close for this month.
I really love that, Judith. With the talking about breathing, and it's funny too, as you're saying that, something that I do with my daughter who's 4, when she gets really upset and it's hard for her to kind of regulate herself to come to a place of calm, what we've started doing is, as I tell her to take, because she's 4, I say take 4 deep breaths. You're 4 years old, so take 4 deep breaths. And usually by the second one, she's starting to calm down. But at the end of 4, she's always like, I feel much more better. She always says that. I feel much more better. And so this is something that I'm hoping to keep going as she progresses through life. And then other things, like as we go outside, every time the wind blows, take a deep breath in, like let it fill your lungs. I was driving home today from a session, and we have a little rainstorm going on, and I could smell the scent of the rain. I love the smell of rain and storms, and I just love that. So as I was like smelling it coming through my car, I was like taking it a deep breath in, because it's just so vibrant. It's like a fresh new, you know, it's change. It's changing gracefully through the storm, so just breathing, like it doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to, like you were saying, you don't have to go through this whole big meditation class and do the Om thing and sit on a mat and all of that. You can literally just in the moment, and I don't want to take 38 deep breaths. That would take a while. I'm 38, but but you could pick a number and take a whole bunch of deep breaths just until you can feel your body. You can feel your shoulders start to come down. You can feel your pulse start to come down. You can just feel your whole body kind of coming into itself. And then like I said, when you're outside, take those moments to breathe in the beauty. It kind of ties into what you were saying about the beauty. Nature is a beautiful thing, and we can appreciate it and take that pleasure in the experience of being in it simply by breathing. Literally, it can be that easy. Just breathe. Just breathe, people. Come on. That's my message.
Well, thank you, because that kind of builds on the wisdom of the spiritual teacher Lao Tzu, who wrote, "Nature never rushes, but she always gets everything done." And one of the things that I see with the two-legged ones, and we're the real problem for Mother Earth herself, is all we do is we get programmed to rush, and half the time we don't even know where we're going. So, they often say that the least evolved of all the species of the planet are the two-legged ones, and the other creatures, the air ones, the fish ones, the crawly ones, they have one alarm system. Speaking of Joey's wonderful message around us having an alarm system that we can't see like a dashboard in a car. And they have one message. When they see a two-legged, it's called alarm, two-legged, run. So Joey, can we get back to you? And I love your wonderful story about the car, because I really think human beings, we need to help each other know we have alarm systems. And we're all doing the best we can. And we're living through such intense times that we cannot just be very hard on ourselves. We can be very hard in our own original families. And alarm bells are going off right now because of the intensity that we're all going through on the planet right now. And it's not a laughing matter. We're living through very challenging times. But in these challenging times, we can take an opportunity to begin to see if we can take one step forward and 3 steps back and 5 steps forward the next day, inch by inch. It's a cinch to change ourselves and change the ones we love around us, so they know we're not going to live so intensely that will do more damage and more harm than we really want to do, because we're all wonderfully good human beings. And in us all are this goodness that seeks to flow like a river. And I love the image of you young people that bring forth breathing and flowing, being in sync with whatever in the moment we're feeling. And once we can feel, we begin to be more in sync with the surroundings of which we are, that we do affect the whole. And so, Joey, I'm going to go back to you, because your words around the stress of finances really spoke to me today. And as an elder, one of the challenges I have is, what have we done to the generation after us? And my generation is very responsible for what we have done. And so elders are very concerned right now as we witness the financial stress on young people and young adults and families of today. So I would just like to say that when we look at the medicine wheel, and we look at wholeness, and we look at balance, and we look at what we're talking about in the program today, if we can simply breathe and remember that if we can live each new day in a better way of honoring mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financial health is really important. And what that means is to live all aspects of those 5 directions in balance. We do not need the whistle and the gadgets. What we need to do is honor and love ourselves, and every day applaud ourselves and see that we don't need extra anything to make ourselves feel better. We need special little techniques like Joey was talking about, that Kim is talking about, as young people that can help a lot of young people and elders to begin to reclaim their own space, their own sacred journey forward in these times of great challenges. Because these are the challenges that we've been preparing for lifetimes. And these are the prophecy times where we're going to begin to honor that we all come from the stars, we return to the stars, and we're all privileged to do our learning on this magnificent planet, the blue planet, Mother Turtle Earth. And she's giving us this wisdom now to have these conversations and to bless us to go into our own families, our own communities, and take COVID as an opportunity for a great lesson in life. Breathe and take every moment as sacred and precious. It'll last a lifetime. And gratitude to you all. So Joey, would you like to help us close this gathering today and bless those that would like to feel inspired to do this call? And as we leave, I would like to send to everyone my deep gratitude for all of who you are and who you're becoming in each new breath. May we all be at peace with each new moment, for it is blessed. So Joey, I'd like to invite you to make some comments and some closing words.
Yeah, there was a lot of great things that popped up. Like as y'all were speaking, just kind of brought up a lot for me in different ways. The breath piece, I feel like that is the connection to life, and on the body level, it's really a good friend of mine said that choice is our superpower, and kind of what we are speaking about earlier. So I think we have more choice than we're led to believe, or we allow ourselves to see within ourselves. And breath is one of those things that we every day have a choice of, and we literally move from this automatic breathing that is always connected to our emotional state at any given moment. And it's a very automatic thing. But then when we choose to breathe in a moment, we allow that choice to be our superpower, and we can literally change our physiological state by doing that. And we then have a connection to our environment in a new way. And what Judith was saying about the alarm piece, I think that's super important is that we all have different ways that our alarms go off. It's almost as unique as our fingerprint. We this foundation was laid at such a young age that we all have it different. So there's no way for me to say what yours is. Your anxiety is different than my anxiety or any other emotion. And so I think what that does is gives the power back to the individual for them to turn that mirror inwards and start to see, okay, well, how does my body speak to me through these different alarm systems? And when that alarm goes off, if I look around, most times I'm not actually in physical danger. A lot of times it's an email or a conversation or whatever the trigger is, but physically we're often actually safe. And so, what you can do in those moments, and this is for elders teaching or sharing this with younger generations and children as well, is to ask them to put their hand where they feel it. So when if you notice someone else is triggered, like ask them just where do you feel it, and then they can put their hand there. And honestly, that's usually enough because what it does is it creates that feedback loop of oh, I feel it right here in my chest. And then if the person allows themselves to feel that, that is the emotional regulation system. So it literally just takes that touch to put it on a place where that alarm is, and then it'll start to actually self-resolve. And so that kind of leads into the other piece that I think is super important for younger generations that I think we've kind of lost over time is the importance of touch. I think our culture is very touch phobic, and we've been in a place where many people have violated touch. Um, but I think, and oftentimes too, our culture has shown us that touch, if touch happens, it's pretty much sexual, and that's not the case. Really, the majority of touch is non-sexual touch. And it's one of the most healing aspects that we have as a humanity. We can actually speak so much more language, so much more of that ancient language by touch. And I think it's a very important piece to maybe bring into the family unit again to teach younger generations what is a healthy form of non-sexual touch. Um, there's a wonderful paper if anybody's interested in looking it up. It's free on the internet. It is called it's moving my mind. Uh, touch deprivation and touch deprivation, the origins of violence, something like that. And what the paper is essentially speaking on is that the origins of our cultural violence are due to the lack of healthy touch at a young age. And so it really speaks to the chaos almost that we see in our world. And I think this paper was written in like the 70s or 80s. I haven't seen it anywhere else besides the paper itself. I don't know why it's not referenced more often, but it really speaks to many of the chaos and the violence that we have in the world is due to our culture being touch phobic, and that we don't teach children at a young age what healthy, loving touch is like. And so when they become adults, it kind of becomes very convoluted, along with obviously TV, internet, and the adjustments that have changed and how violence is somehow accepted in our culture. So those pieces there together with changing the way in which we see touch, that it actually can be non-sexual and healthy the majority of the time, and allowing children to explore that with one another as well as in a family unit that teaches what that is like, as well as the piece about breath that we spoke about being able to be more conscious with our breath, and then also noticing with children exactly how Kim was saying, like noticing that her child was in an emotional state, not feeling good, and giving her the opportunity to put a pause button on life, right? Not distract her, not take her out and do all these other things, take her to Disneyland to make her happy. You pause the button and said, hey, I'm here with you. Let's do this together. Let's breathe together. That piece right there is really what allows a child to become aware that they can connect to their body when they don't feel comfortable, and they have it in a safe place with someone who is willing to bring them into their healing. So an act like that is actually huge. And I think that if we can do that with our younger generations more often, not choose to distract them, but instead allow them to guide them back to their body and let that natural wisdom take hold, as well as to be there with them, it's super huge. Sometimes an easy, simple act is an extended hug, right? Hugging somebody and taking a few breaths with them until you let go of the embrace can do so much more than a pat on the back and a goodbye. And so, yeah, that's what comes up for me with that. It's been lovely to be here with you all. For closing statements, I think we covered a lot of really great things of being able to come together in community to discuss whatever we happen to discuss. Um, and know that we all have the ability to be able to connect more deeply, talk about the difficult things, share stories, and different ways we've all fallen on our face every once in a while, and be able to share that with others so that we can come a community and help others to be able to do the same thing for themselves in their own circles. And hopefully spread this type of conversation so that more people are willing to discuss these types of things and come in community to share that, because I believe that is going to be a neutralizing factor to allow us to all be able to uplift one another and share that with younger generations so that they can make this an integrated part of the fabric of culture that I think was originally there many years ago, has still been around a little bit, and now we'd love that to grow even more, because that, I think, is what allows us to transform all of this violence and chaos we see in the world, and transform that into love and connection that has always been there. And back to what you said, actually, Judith, that everybody is good. I think we all inherently are really good people. We just have some crazy rules in the world that don't seem to serve everybody. And I think as we start to see that veil, and transform these things that don't work for us anymore, come into community and communicate about it, we can start to transform that fear into love. And so if anyone else wants to add anything else, feel free to hop on in. Otherwise, we'll close for now and see you next month. What is the date?
And that's a wonderful closing leading to next month, Joey, because I love the imagery of your comment. Because next month we're going to be on Monday, June the 20th at 2:30 p.m. And I love the comment around the power of touch being so significant, to be holding the beauty everywhere. And let's take a moment to breathe and give gratitude every day. The moment that we see in each other is the power of touch. Conversations touch us. The simple touch on an arm for a child that's hurting. That's the ancient ways of when a newborn child is born. The crib was right next to the mother, not in a sterile hospital room, but the child slept right next to the mother and felt the presence of the mother. And so we're living in a new dimension of reality where touch is so important. And the new movie Avatar is coming through soon, and I would highly advise everyone to watch Avatar, because Avatar is a great teaching tool to let us remember that touch is a powerful way of a thunderstorm coming to where I'm speaking today. And nature is waking us up to the lightning within ourselves that is this powerful light and love that seeks to emerge through touching each other in these voices from Colorado and Philadelphia and Gatineau, Quebec. Bless you all and see you all next month. And Kim and Joey will have a conversation after this call. But for now, stay well, everyone. And fear not, we are the change we've been looking for. Have fun with it. Don't try too hard. Bye for now.